What's up? You know, the more I dig into conspiracy stuff, the more befuddled I become, because it's all right in front of people. There's nothing secret about it. Anyway, I'd heard of this topic before, but when I actually started to learn about it and research in this video, I was really aghast. If you told people that NATO and the United States were deliberately targeting their own people to blame it on the communists, to make the communists look bad, most people will just grin and snicker, you know, the normies. But it's true, and I'll show you how. So Gladio was started by NATO and the United States for the purpose of disrupting Russian military infrastructure during a Russian invasion of Western Europe. The whole idea was that they'd activate the sleeper cells behind the Russian lines to cause all kinds of trouble. And, you know, that sounds like a pretty good idea. That's what I'd have done. But anyway, I'll just read this. Operation Gladio is undisputed historical fact. Gladio was part of a post-World War II program set up by the CIA and NATO supposedly to thwart future Soviet communist invasions or influence in Italy and Western Europe. In fact, it became a state-sponsored right-wing terrorist network involved in false flag operations and the subversion of democracy. The existence of Gladio was confirmed and admitted by the Italian government in 1990 after a judge, Felice Casson, discovered the network in the course of his investigation into right-wing terrorism. Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti admitted Gladio's existence but tried to minimize its significance. The main function of the Gladio-style groups, in the absence of a Soviet invasion, seems to have been to discredit left-wing groups and politicians through the use of the strategy of tension, including false flag terrorism. The strategy of tension is a concept for control and manipulation of public opinion through the use of fear, propaganda, agents provocateurs, terrorism, etc. The aim was to instill fear into the populace while framing communist and left-wing political opponents for terrorist atrocities. So in other words, they do all kinds of terrorist stuff and then try to blame it on the communists to make the communists look bad. The classic definition of a false flag. And boy, they did it. Okay, so here's a quick rundown of some of the major evidence. The 2000 Italian Parliamentary Commission report, which concluded that Gladio was responsible for a series of bombings and terrorist attacks in Italy during the 1960s and 1970s. The testimony of Vincenzo Vinciguerra, a former Gladio operative who admitted to carrying out terrorist attacks in Italy and implicated NATO and the CIA in the operation. Declassified CIA documents released in 2001, which revealed the agency's involvement in Gladio and its role in training and arming secret armies in Europe. The 1990 confession of Italian General Gerardo Serravalle, who revealed the existence of Gladio and its connection to NATO and the CIA. The 1984 testimony of former CIA Director William Colby, who acknowledged the existence of Gladio and its purpose of creating a stay-behind army in Europe. So as you can see, there were some pretty heavy hitters in this list, and I think they kind of established at least an intriguing line of inquiry upon which to proceed. And here's Mr. Vinciguerra. Vincenzo Vinciguerra is a former Italian neo-fascist and Gladio operative who was involved in several terrorist attacks in Italy during the 1960s and 70s. Vinciguerra's testimony has been instrumental in exposing the existence and scope of Operation Gladio, and his revelations have contributed significantly to our understanding of the strategy of tension and its role in shaping Italian politics during the Cold War era. And I'm going to play you a recording of the man. Please forgive me, I couldn't find an English dub version. It's subtitled, and I think it's going to be big enough for you to be able to read it. I certainly hope so. So let's go.
Bisognava attaccare i civili, quello che è il popolo, le donne, i bambini, le persone innocenti, strane ad ogni gioco politico. Per una ragione semplice, perché bisognava obbligare questa gente, l'opinione pubblica italiana, a rivolgersi allo Stato, a rivolgersi al regime per chiedere maggiore sicurezza. Il ruolo della destra d'Italia è stato proprio questo. Si è messa al servizio di apparati di Stato che hanno alimentato una strategia che giustamente è stata definita della tensione, in quanto bisognava portare la gente ad accettare in qualsiasi momento, nell'arco di un trentennio dal 1960 al 1985-86, la possibilità di uno stato d'emergenza. Quindi la gente avrebbe barattato molto volentieri parte della sua libertà con una sicurezza, con la sicurezza di poter camminare sulle strade, viaggiare sui treni, salire sugli aerei, entrare in banca. Questa è la logica politica che sta dietro tutte le stragi, che rimangono impunite proprio perché lo Stato non può condannare se stesso o proclamare se stesso colpevole di quello che ha fatto.
Next. And I remember some of these sons of bitches, the Red Brigade, Brigate Rossi. And in Germany, they had the Baader-Meinhof gang. They were communist terrorist organizations. Well, I say they were supposedly communist terrorist organization going all over Europe, blowing folks up, murdering people, causing all kinds of murder and mayhem. Let me read here. The Red Brigades were a prominent left-wing terrorist group in Italy during the 1970s and 80s, responsible for numerous kidnappings, bombings, and assassinations. However, many researchers and investigators have argued that the group was heavily infiltrated by Gladio operatives and Italian secret services who used the Red Brigades to carry out terrorist attacks that would be blamed on the left-wing opposition. Okay, last but not least, the kidnapping and murder of Aldo Moro. The Red Brigade snatched him, and they wanted something in return to have him released. But we broadcast a fake story that had already been killed, which sent the message to the Red Brigades that they weren't going to get what they wanted. So they killed him. Essentially, they were afraid that he was going to spill the beans, so they went ahead and did it, because they knew that was what was going to happen. Anyway, the kidnapping was carried out by the Red Brigades, a left-wing terrorist group, but many investigators and researchers have argued that the operation was infiltrated and manipulated by Gladio operatives and Italian secret services. The goal of this infiltration would have been to discredit the Italian Communist Party and to prevent Moro's planned coalition government with the communists. So see, he was going to let the communists into the government. Henry Kissinger told him that if he did, he'd really be sorry, and I guess he was. The Red Brigade's leader, Mario Moretti, had been in contact with Italian secret services and Gladio operatives before the kidnapping. The kidnapping was carried out with an unusual level of sophistication and precision, suggesting that the Red Brigades may have had outside help. The Italian government and Secret Service were aware of the kidnapping plot but failed to intervene, leading some to suspect that they may have been complicit. Gladio operatives and neo-fascist Vincenzo Vinciguerra, whom had been mentioned earlier, claimed that he had been involved in the planning of the kidnapping and that it was part of a larger strategy to destabilize the Italian government. I don't know what Moro was thinking of. I mean, if he was going to let the communists into the government, he should have expected them to do that to him. You know, back then people were just stupid, and I guess they just didn't really think that, that we did stuff like that. You know? Poor, naive fool. But anyway, he got killed. Now ask yourself the same question that I posed with the King assassination and the Kennedy assassination, both the Kennedy assassinations. If these guys would do shit like this, what else might they do?